Before going into the topic details, I want to bring your attention to the UPSC coaching programs offered by ClearIAS. ClearIAS offers online and offline courses to help candidates get selected for prestigious government services like IAS, IPS, or IFS. ClearIAS Prelims Cum Mains (PCM) course provides a highly effective study plan, well-organized subject-wise videos, study materials, mock exams, and guidance to cover the entire GS syllabus of UPSC CSE prelims, mains, and interview systematically. As a limited-period offer, there is a 40% discount on our online courses. Enroll now.
So what are the different things the government is actually focusing on? The government said that the government is actually focusing on 9 different themes. So we are going to look into each of the different themes and what the government actually said, what the budget is actually saying about each of the different themes. That is what we are going to look at. The first one is actually about agriculture. We will discuss about that. Second thing is about employment and skilling. The third thing is about HRD, that is the human resource. How our people are actually doing, if our people are having justice, social justice, etc. Third thing. The fourth is manufacturing and services. The fifth is urban development, how our cities are actually progressing. Cities means that not just the place, but the people also. Because it is the people which make the city, right? So urban development, then energy security. It has to deal with different kinds of energy such as renewable energy, nuclear energy, all kinds of energies will be dealt there. And then infrastructure. Infrastructure means all the roads, bridges, irrigation, all the things actually comes under infrastructure, innovation, research and development, and then some of the next generation reforms. So these are the 9 themes, these are the 9 priorities. The word used is priorities. So every year they have certain names. So this year there are 9 priorities. We are going to look into each of these priorities taking. So the first one is about agriculture. So the first priority area is agriculture. So they are talking about our Annadada, our farmers, how we can revolutionize the farming sector. That is what they are saying. So there was a motive that doubling farmers' income by 2022. So those who are actually who had actually already written some of the exams or prelims multiple times, who may know about this particular concept. That is, doubling farmers' income was our aim. Which year? By which year? By 2022. Did it happen? No. Then the situation actually kind of worsened also because of the farmer protest, the farmers bill, etc. So they want to revamp the particular thing called agricultural and allied sectors. So that is why they are giving some of the things. For example, first thing is research. No need to understand each and every single sentences. We'll just understand which are the focus areas. The first focus area in agriculture is research, the agricultural research. So they want to say that there will be a comprehensive review on agricultural research and all. Some new research and development activities will be happening. So will be some of the fund for that productivity sector. So that research will happen, then the productivity of the crops will increase. So that is one particular section, research, one thing. The next thing is national cooperation policy. That is the cooperative sector. You know, cooperative sector is actually mentioned in the constitution itself. And cooperative sector is important for India, especially for a country like India where majority of the population are dependent on agriculture or allied sectors. So more than around 60% of the population is directly or indirectly linked with agriculture. So that is why cooperative sector is important. And the government is saying that there will be a cooperative specific policy. We will be giving boost to the cooperative sector. That is the second statement. The third statement is that vegetable production and supply chain. We can use another word, horticulture. Not just the vegetables, vegetable, fruits, etc. They actually want to give focus on. Which is the major regions in India which are prominent for horticulture? In India, which region is, there was a question, I guess, in 2018 mains actually, there was a question on something like this, the horticulture, production, development, etc. And which is one region we can focus on when we talk about horticulture. Whether the horticulture, the fruits and vegetables, all these things grow in hot climate or cool climate. Generally, kind of cool climates. So where we can find cool climate, even though we don't find that much cold temperatures, the regions where too much of rainfall happens, which means that the regions where sunlight is less, there may be a chance of this particular growing of the horticulture crops. So which is the region in India which receives maximum amount of rainfall? Northeast India. So that is the point. The Northeast India is the one of the regions where the horticulture crops are extensively produced. So for example, Tripura, they're having extensive pineapple population, pineapple production, etc. The number of pineapple, the productivity is extremely rich in Tripura, etc. States like that. So just like that, the Northeast India is one of the regions where horticulture is growing very good. There are certain other regions also. For example, when we go to the Western Ghats region, certain Western Ghats hill ranges, they are actually very famous for horticulture production, etc. So that is the geographical aspect of horticulture. And what they are saying is that the vegetable production, all the supply chain, all the things will be given a boost. That is, if you are actually harvesting, for example, apple, generally coming from Kashmir Valley, they're having good apple production. What if the apple is actually harvested from the tree? How many days will it survive after plucking it out of the tree? In India, how many days? Not, it is actually a perishable product. Like the word is perishable. So what the government wants to say is that they want to develop a supply chain. They want to develop networks of storages, cold storages, etc. So that if an apple is plucked from Kashmir, I can easily store the particular product. I can safely transport it and I can reach to the market very easily, very quickly, so that the producer can accept, so that the customer can very easily buy the product. So if it is not that much happening, if there is not that much investment in that particular supply chain network, what happens is that the apple will take months and months to reach a market. So finally, most of them will be degraded also. So to reach that perishable products such as vegetables, to reach the market easily, they are going to give a lot of investments in the productivity sector or that supply chain sector. Easily destroyed. Like if anything like that, if there is a, if this is not perishable, fruits and vegetables are perishable, flowers are perishable. So those things actually which has to be consumed very easily, very quickly, that is called perishables. Right. So that is the second thing. The third thing is some of the new varieties of crops. That is 109. So 109 new high yield and climate resilient varieties of 32 field crops, 32 field and horticulture crops will be released for cultivation by farmers. Just know that high yield variety seeds will be produced. That is our third point. So what is the government saying? Around 100 new very high yield variety seeds. For example, certain crops which we cultivate in India, some actually have a lot of high productivity, some will have very less productivity only. So what the government is saying, they want to focus on high yield variety crops and they will be producing a very large number of crops. They will be distributing it to farmers for their production. Why was BT cotton introduced? Because there was already cotton cultivation. Then why did we introduce the BT cotton? Because pest resistant, same thing, bollworm resistant. Ultimately, the productivity of the existing cotton was going less and less. So we need more productive actually variants of cotton. So ultimately, we introduced what is called as the GM cotton, that is the BT cotton, which has high productivity. So we are always looking for high yield variety, that is high productivity crops and all. So that is one of the regions they are actually looking into. And the next thing is Atmanirbharta. Atmanirbharta in English means self-resilience or self-reliance. Self-reliance, right? So why they actually want self-reliance? Because the concept actually has roots in the Green Revolution of India, which happened in 1960s. Why Green Revolution came? Because we were dependent on some other countries like United States of America, some of the Western countries for what? For food, etc. So they used to supply us wheat and all. So we were dependent on them. So when we were dependent on them, what such countries actually told us that you have to do certain things like this, you have to do certain things like that. So they started dictating us. So what India wanted freedom. India wanted independence, ultimate freedom. If only we are actually economically independent, if only we have food security, we can be truly independent. So other than that, we can simply say that we are a free country, but we are some other countries are controlling us because of food. So we started Green Revolution. So then we became ultimately better free country. So that is why the Atmanirbharta or self-reliance of concept actually started. So here also, the current government also wants to give promotion to self-reliance in some of the things such as oil seeds, such as mustard, groundnut, sesame, soybean, sunflower, etc. And then oil seeds plus pulses. So pulses plus oil seeds, we are going to improve. The government is going to invest more. Why? We need self-reliance in those sectors. We don't want to import a lot of oil from different other countries. For example, Malaysia. We are importing oils like palm oil, etc. from Malaysia. But we don't want that. We want to produce our own oil. So what the government is actually focusing on, the government wants to invest more money in the oil seed sector, in the pulses sector, so that we'll produce what we want. We want to less or reduce our imports. I hope you understood. And along with that thing, the government also talks about certain other things in the agriculture sector. One thing is actually natural farming. One thing is natural farming. So after the green revolution, slowly we understand about the drawbacks of green revolution. So we went to the organic revolution, organic farming, etc. Now we are talking about the natural farming. So what is actually natural farming? The government is saying is that around 1 crore farmers will be benefited in 2 years when the government is funding the natural farming thing. So what is natural farming? What is the thing called natural farming? Any idea? There is actually another, when you study your economics and environment, etc., you will be studying about zero budget natural farming. So that is one very large concept, that is zero budget natural farming, which means that there will not be, I'm just giving a very brief idea what is natural farming. This has to be dealt extensively in the environment classes. Natural farming simply means that you don't need any kind of chemical fertilizers. But still, if you want to grow a plant, you need some kind of help, external help, right? So from where that external help will come? That will come from the biological manures, the biological fertilizers, etc. You will never have chemical kind of fertilizers. And before planting a seed, that seed will be treated. That is biologically treated with some other things. For example, cow dung, some other manures of plants, etc. So all the things will be helping the seed in a very good state. Then it will be planted. So the seed will have faster growth. And ultimately, there will be animals, etc., in the same farm, etc. So the animals is helping the plants grow, and the plants will be helping the animal grow. So combinedly, it is actually a very less chemical environment. That is actually called the zero budget natural farming. So this is actually kind of intense than organic farming, we can say. So you have to read through the zero budget natural farming. You will have that in your classes because it is an important subject only. So the government wants to focus on that particular aspect, that is the natural farming. And with the natural farming, they want to give help around 1 crore farmers in the next 2 years. Another thing. And the next thing is that the digital public infrastructure. Digital public infrastructure will be established for the farming sector. Which means that what is the digital public infrastructure? What will be digital public infrastructure in the farming sector or the agriculture sector? What can be that? Below, around 2 hectares. Around 2 hectares. If I am a farmer who has land, but land less than 2 hectares, then I can be called as a marginal landholding farmer. In India, the majority of farmers are actually large farmers or marginal farmers. Marginal farmers only. So the government actually wants to have a quantification of land. How much actually land is with someone? What is the land availability with the farmers? What is the number of marginal farmers, etc. So they want to actually introduce the digital public infrastructure in the DPI in agriculture, so that it will cover every kind of farms. They'll have farm registries, land registries, etc. They'll find the number of farms which are less, which are high, which are large, etc. How much productivity is in each land. So they'll digitalize the particular thing called land, the productivity of land, the outcome of land, the size of the land, etc. will be covered in the digitalized form. So the digitalization of agriculture is also planned along with the agriculture sector. So that is what they are actually saying. And the last thing is that around 10,000 need-based bio input centers will be established. So around 10,000 need-based bio input centers. If I want biofertilizer, I can go to that This is just like a fertilizer distribution center, but it is a biofertilizer. So any kind of, not just a biofertilizer, any kind of biological product which are not at all chemicals, which are required for my farm. I can go there, I can collect it. So around 10,000 such bio input centers will be established in India, where farmers can go and purchase certain good things. So these are the things which are covering under the agricultural and allied sectors in the particular thing called budget. We are going to the next sectors. First few sectors are a little heavy, and as we progresses, the data will be reduced. The next sector, the sector number 2, is employment and skilling. So just like I said, the sector number 2 is employment and skilling. So what they are actually saying is that under the Prime Minister's package for employment generation, etc., they're actually introducing 5 schemes. Right, 5 schemes. And under the particular thing called employment and skilling, they're actually having 3 schemes here. What are the 3 schemes? The first scheme A, scheme B, and scheme C. 3 different schemes, but don't have to by heart each statement one by one. This is the budget screenshot, right? So we have to understand what this is actually about. That much is necessary. The first thing is that there will be kind of an internship kind of thing. That is 1 month wage to new entrants. For every new job applicants, for every new entrance in the job, they will be getting up to 15,000 rupees, and that too in 3 installments. So 15,000 rupees in 3 installments means 5,000 rupees, like that they will be getting their monthly salary, so which the government will be promoting. And the government says that it is expected to benefit around 210 lakh youth. 210 lakh youth means 2.1 crore youth. So for the 2.1 crore young population, there will be new job creation, and the salaries will be somewhere around 15,000 rupees, and that will be given in 3 different installments. That is 5,000 each rupees. That is one thing the government is actually promoting. 15,000 rupees, it is actually very less. But still the government is actually promoting, because the government realized that it is actually better to have a little job with 15,000 rupees than remaining unemployed. So there are actually a lot of people who are remaining unemployed. So with this very small income, even if it is very small income, these 2.1 crore people will be benefited. So they're actually starting scheme number A, scheme A for the first timers. Okay, so it's actually for the first timers only. This is like a full package salary. They're actually introducing something like that. The second scheme B and scheme 3 is actually related with something like EPFO. What is actually EPFO? Employment. What is actually EPFO? So whenever, if I'm an employer, if I'm taking an employee, what happens is that both me and the employee will have some contribution to the EPFO, like a pension scheme. So we have to contribute certain small amount of sum to the EPFO scheme every month. And finally, when you are actually retiring, when you are finally going out of the scheme, you will get the sum. So the government is actually promoting this particular thing, manufacturing sector, and to the employer through the EPFO scheme by contributing little bit. So whatever the employer or whatever the employee has to contribute, the government will contribute something. So that is the only concept here. You don't even have to read the entire numbers. Just understand that government will support the employer and the employee in contributing to the EPFO. That is required, right? And why they are actually promoting this thing? To boost the manufacturing sector. To boost the manufacturing sector, to boost more and more employment, then the government is actually supporting both the employer and employee in the sector to boost employment. The number of jobs has to be increased. That is the point. The next point under the very same employment sector is that there will be something like model skill loans. So model skill loans will be there. This is it. So what are the model skill loans? So around 7.5 lakh rupees will be given from the government from a fund. So the government is actually forming a new fund, and from that 7.5 lakh rupees will be given for the creation of skills and all. So model skill fund is actually created in the particular sector. That is one thing. And how many students will be benefited? Around 25,000 students will be benefited every year. So that is one important point. Every student will get somewhere close to 7.5 lakh rupees for their skill upgradation, training, etc. That is one important thing. And the next thing is regarding the skilling program. We already mentioned about scheme A, B, C, the 3 schemes. There are total 5 schemes. So this is the 4th scheme, the PM's 4th scheme for employment generation. What is this particular thing? The PM fund will be directly used for skilling 20 lakh youth for a 5-year period. One thing. Second thing is that industrial training institutes. That is 1,000 industrial training institutes. We already mentioned about the example of that, engineering college, etc., where that we are actually not going. So what is the problem there? The link between academia, that is the engineering colleges, and the industry is broken. In the medical college, it is there, but in the engineering college, it is not there. So whatever the students are learning, it has to be applied in the industry. So academia, industry linkage has to be there. For that purpose, industrial training centers. So when you're actually studying, you have to go to one particular center, then you have to practically learn the thing rather than simply learning from the textbook. So 1,000 industrial training institutes will be upgraded in a hub and spoke arrangement with outcome orientation. Hub and spoke is actually one another economic term, which means that there will be a central hub, that is one central unit, and different spokes will be developed. So new centers will be developed centering around the main central unit. That is called the hub and spoke model. So that is actually the second thing. The third thing is actually the course content and design aligned as per skill need for the industry. I'll tell you my example. That is when I was in my engineering final year and all, there was one paper that is called mobile computing. Right. So we were really, enthusiastic in learning mobile computing. So that is our final year of our engineering. So we'll be learning about new concepts and all. So we went to the new semester, the final semester, 8th semester, went to the SEM, and we got the textbook. We got the referred textbook and all in the syllabus. We opened the textbook, mobile computing. Okay, the ultra modern mobile computing in the final year, the final sem of my BTech. We opened, and it was actually a reputed institution also. So the first page we opened, they were talking about the 2G, 3G, GPRS, GPS, and we were looking, what is this? Okay, this is mobile computing. We agree that, but this is not we expect to study in the final sem of the final year. We expect to study something little more advanced, but these are all basic things. I'm not saying I scored very high in those exams and all, because this is not what is required. We have to be skilled. We have to be upskilled according to what is required by the industry. So the very same thing, all the course content of the courses, etc., will be aligned as per the skill needs of the industry. Now, this time when an engineering graduate is coming out, and that person has to study about the artificial intelligence, the machine learning concepts, the different etc. things. That is what they have to learn. If learning about the prehistoric era and all the things, actually that is actually required, you have to have a basic understanding about it. But to devote one special syllabus or paper for that, that is not required. So we have to align our skills according to the needs of the industry. So that is another PM's fourth scheme. So there are total 5 schemes of PM's package, and this is the fourth scheme of the PM's package. One course is very good aligned. Second thing is industrial training institutes, and the third thing is a 20 lakh youths will be skilled according to the 5-year period. And the next thing is actually about the women participation. The two other things are about women participation, that is to participate, to make sure that more number of women actually come into the workforce. They actually want to set up working women's hostels in collaboration with industry and all. And then crushes also. That is, if there is a pregnant woman, if there is a lactating woman also who has a little kid and all, but the woman will be finding it very difficult to go to the workplace if there are no proper facilities. So the government wants to promote or to increase the number of women in the workforce who are actually working. So what the government can do, they can increase the number of working women's hostels, one thing, and they can increase the number of crashes also. When the woman is working in the office, she can be tension free. Why? Because her kid will be taken care of in the crush. So those kind of facilities will be coming up with the help of private sector, with the help of the industry. So that is another thing. And the last but not the thing, the last point here is that the financial support for loans up to 10 lakh rupees for higher education in domestic institutions. That is, our higher education has to be improved, right? For every kind of job creation, every kind of thing, ultimately we need education. Higher education is a must. So to improve education is the last, but higher education is the last point. So ultimately 10 lakh for every some of the higher education institutions for improving their quality and all. So that is what they are actually saying. So these are the things actually coming under the employment generation or skill upgradation things of the themes of the government. You can safely ignore some of the numbers in it. If there is actually 10,000 numbers of 1,000 numbers of industrial training is no. When you are writing your mains exam, just mention that a number of or a very good number of industrial training institutes will be established. That is actually more than enough in our mains exam, right? So that is the way in which you look into the budget documents. The numbers are required for economists. The statisticians will look at the number. We look at the concepts for the aspirants, right? So the third theme is inclusive human resource development and social justice. The inclusive human resource development and social justice is the third theme in the third priority in the budget document. So what the government actually wants to give emphasis to is that the marginalized groups, the tribals, the women entrepreneurs, etc. That is what they are going to emphasize on this particular thing. So looking at the particular data, the first point is that they want to give emphasis. They're announcing a new scheme, that is Purvodaya. They're announcing a new scheme that is called Purvodaya, and they have some titles also along with that. But we'll focus on what the content is. So what is actually Purvodaya? What is actually Purva direction? If I'm saying east, west, north, south is there, what is the Purv direction? The east is the one. So which means that if I'm drawing like this, this is the east. So this is what they are actually focusing on. What are the eastern states in India? There are certain eastern states such as the Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Odisha, and to an extent Andhra also. So they want to focus on the east of India, not the northeast of India, just the eastern part. So they want to focus on certain states in India, and what they are actually going to say is that they want to develop or increase the economic opportunities in that region, in that eastern region. So you can safely imagine which are the eastern states. Bihar will be there, Jharkhand will be there, West Bengal will be there, Odisha will be there, and Andhra. They want to focus on these kind of states to improve their economic development. And along with that, they actually introduced one new corridor, that is Amritsar Kolkata Industrial Corridor. So Amritsar Kolkata Industrial Corridor will be developed with the industrial node at Gaya, with a center point in Gaya. Where is Gaya? Again, Bihar. So that is one of the reasons why the opposition was actually protesting that the budget was extensively focusing on two states. You know which are the two states, of course, and that is actually politics. Of course, there are a lot of political connotations with also, but we are only focusing on the budgetary document only. But you will find a lot of mention about Bihar and Andhra in the very same document. So they are focusing on the industrial node at Gaya and Amritsar, Kolkata, Amritsar in Punjab, Kolkata in Bengal. So they want to develop an industrial corridor in between this, and in between the center will be having Gaya with an industrial node. So that is what the Purvodaya concept is, focusing on the eastern states for their economic development and connecting with Amritsar with an industrial corridor. One point. The second thing is that they will be allocated around 3 lakh crore to benefit the women and girls. And this is just a number. We can safely say in our answers that there is actually a hefty sum allotted for the women and girl child development. That is the second point. Third statement is Pradhan Mantri PM Jan Jatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan. So Pradhan Mantri Jan Jatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan. Jan Jatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan. Jan Jatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan. So what are they actually focusing on? They are focusing on the tribal population with the Jan Jatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan. They're focusing on improving the socio-economic conditions of the tribal communities, and they are estimating it around somewhere close to 63,000 villages, and the tribal communities close to living in around 63,000 villages, and the estimated number is somewhere close to 5 crore tribal population. So around 5 crore tribal population will have the improvement in their socio-economic conditions, and the government is focusing on them, and the around 63,000 villages will thus be benefited. That is what is called as the Jan Jatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan. And these are all coming under the inclusive human resource and social justice. And one last thing about this particular priority sector is that they will have India Post Payment Bank. So there is actually our own India Post, right? Earlier they used to simply send us letters and etc., cards, etc. Now they have actually started payments bank, something like payment bank. So it is a very small kind of branch, of course. We can have the basic financial needs with that particular bank. Why India Post started the payment bank? Because India Post has that much wide network. The network, even Jio or BSNL or Airtel, nobody has, India Post has. Even in the remotest location of India, they have their office. So it is one of the very highly regarded, heavily distributed sectors, networks in India. That is the India Post. So India Post itself started a bank so that even the most remotest rural population can actually have access to the banking network. So the India Post Payment Bank will be more than 100 branches will be set up in the northeastern region. So focus to the northeast, and a number of India Post Payment Banks will be set up in the northeast region. And last but not the least, we know there is Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act was there, and which was the state which came up after the particular new state created. Telangana, right? So there was actually Telangana, but Andhra was actually demanding that, which was the capital of Andhra? Hyderabad. What is the capital of Telangana right now? Hyderabad itself. So what happened was that the entire Andhra Pradesh, when Telangana was bifurcated and Telangana was formed, the major economic regions of Andhra Pradesh went with Telangana. So what Andhra Pradesh wanted, when you are dividing me, my major economic sources are actually going, the major centers, economic centers are actually going. So I need a special package. So that is what the major concept is. So because of that is where after the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act, lot of demands were there for special packages, etc. We are going to focus on this particular small aspect only, that is Polavaram irrigation project. So the government is actually giving special emphasis to Andhra. Just I'm not reminding you the particular political aspect of this, because the same party from Andhra is actually in the current central government coalition. So the opposition parties are saying that okay, that is why they are actually giving extra money to Bihar and Andhra. But the project here is that Polavaram irrigation project. And this Polavaram irrigation project is actually in the river Godavari. One point, it is actually in the Eluru district of Andhra, and East Godavari, that is the Godavari is the river. You know the different major rivers. Godavari is one of the major rivers. And why we are actually focusing on Polavaram irrigation project, one of the things is about the rehabilitation or displacement of tribal population. So which is the tribal community which was affected by it? It was actually the Konda Reddy. The Konda Reddy tribal population was extensively affected by the particular thing called Polavaram irrigation project. It is a very large irrigation project which is actually somewhere around 960 megawatt. It is continuously ongoing. So what the budget is saying is that we will help you complete or promote the particular project. So this project, the Polavaram, came in the news. So what we have to do? We have to just understand what the project is. Which river is Godavari? It is somewhere close to around 1000 megawatt of power will be generated, and the Konda Reddy tribes are actually affected in it, and which is the mountain ranges near to the Polavaram irrigation project. It is actually called Papi Konda. The particular mountain ranges is called Papi Konda. So near Papi Konda, Polavaram, Godavari river, Konda Reddy tribe, around 1000 megawatt. So this is what the government is actually trying to promote in Andhra Pradesh, in the Eluru region of Andhra. All right. So that is the concept here. So then we go to the next priority sector. That is the priority sector number 4. And what they are actually promoting, they want to promote manufacturing and services. They want to promote manufacturing and services. Some of the things we do not repeat, etc. For example, the MSMEs. So we mentioned about how MSMEs are actually important for our manufacturing sector. Why? The major thing is employment. So when employment comes, economy and all the GDP will be also be developing. So they want to give a credit guarantee scheme. Credit means, what do you mean by credit? Loan. Credit means simply means loan. So the different companies, the different MSMEs, small companies, they need loan. They need capital. Then only they can work. So to get them the loans easily, there will be a credit guarantee scheme for the MSMEs in the manufacturing sector, so that the manufacturing sector will be developed. And the new assessment model for MSME credit, that is, rather than giving out simply fund to the MSME, there will be proper assessment. Then after assessment only, certain funds will be devolved. And the third thing is Mudra loans. The third thing is Mudra loans. So what do you mean by Mudra loans? Any idea what is a Mudra loan? It is actually given to a kind of MSME. Still, there is another word missing. Any other word? If I'm actually starting a company, small company, what I can call it? Startup, right? So startup. So for all those startup, for all those entrepreneurs, for all those new businessmen who are starting in a very small scale, they need some kind of capital, right? For all those startup setup, it is why the Mudra loans were set up. And the Mudra loan is actually, promoted under different categories. And one of the categories is Tarun category. Tarun. And under Tarun category, the budget is actually increased to 20 lakh rupees. So if I go to the bank, if I go to certain banks for the Mudra loan, under the Tarun category, I can now get 20 lakh rupees. Earlier, it used to be 10 lakh rupees. There needs to be certain conditions. Then only I'll get the money for sure. But the focus they are giving on startup and the Tarun sector is good. So my point is, prelims perspective, what is Mudra loans? The Tarun category, current amount 20 lakhs, that is important. In the mains perspective, if at all there is a question asked on MSME, startup, etc., you have to mention about Mudra loans, right? The next thing is credit support to MSMEs during stress period like COVID. So when there was a stress period, when the MSMEs actually alert the banking system or the government that we are actually undergoing through a stress period, you have to be very considerate. That is the point. Then what is it? The TRED system. So again, what is actually TREDs? Any idea what is actually TREDs? Any idea? See, there are certain times in which such companies or startups, they get some kind of tax deduction, etc. We call it trade receivables. Again, you'll be studying in the economics class, etc. Focus more on that. Trade receivables. So that is the extra income they return from the government after paying all the taxes, etc. So these trade receivables actually, there is actually software, there is actually a system in which electronically they get back the system, they get back the money. So that is actually called the TRED system, through which the return money is actually coming through. And they want to give focus on the enhanced scope for mandatory onboarding in TREDs. That is, every kind of MSMEs has to register in TREDs so that all the returns will be easily coming back to them. So there are certain startups which have not yet registered in it, certain MSMEs companies not registered in it. They are finding a lot of issues. So you have to mandatorily register in the TRED system so that all the trade receivables will be coming back to you easily. And the last but not the least, new small companies, small MSMEs will be started in which all sectors? In food irradiation. What is actually food irradiation? What do you mean by food irradiation? Any idea? Why is actually food irradiated? Any idea? So in simple terms, we can say that take the example of rice or wheat or any crop, etc. like that. These kind of foods are actually undergoing special type of radiation treatment. And why this radiation treatment is actually happening? We just mentioned about the perishables, right? So if certain foods, certain perishable items are irradiated, which it will have more shelf life. What is it? Shelf life. So what do you mean by shelf life? Shelf life is the time in which they will be remaining in the good form. So that shelf life will be increased with the irradiation method. And there are certain irradiation methods which can eventually kill some of the unwanted pathogens also, some of the bacteria maybe. So that irradiation of food is actually an extremely important thing. Two benefits: primary benefit, increasing the shelf life; secondary benefit, to kill some of the unnecessary pathogens. So these are the two things associated with the food irradiation. And also along with that, quality and safety testing centers of food will be increased. So you may be hearing some of the newspapers that some of the old stale fishes were caught, like the fishes which were actually 3 or 4 months old, they will be kept under some ice trucks and all. And these ice trucks, when the fish availability is less, those people take it from the lorries and they sell it directly. So we buy the fish, but by the time we reach the house and all, the fish will be degraded. So those kind of things are actually happening. And there are certain times in which those food items, on the non-veg food items, and the mayonnaise, etc., that was actually caused to be very harmful for the human beings. So the food quality should be very proper, and for that, a number of food quality and safety testing centers will also be opened. That is all under MSME. So when we talk about food quality, food irradiation, we are not just talking about the food, we are talking about the MSME sector. So for all those things, small number of companies will be starting. All of them are MSMEs, and eventually the economy will also be boosted. That is the point which we are actually focusing on, right? So the next concept, the next priority sector, along with this particular thing, we have to also mention about the fifth scheme of the Prime Minister. What is the fifth scheme of the Prime Minister? Is internship. The internship, and that is what the opposition was saying in their manifesto. They were saying about the internship, and currently the government budget, they actually kind of, okay, they understood, okay, the importance of internship. So under the fifth package of the Prime Minister, they introduced something like the internship. So what is the internship here? Scheme for providing internship opportunities in 500 top companies to 1 crore youths in 5 years. So the next 5 years, there will be the internship opportunities for 1 crore people, 1 crore young people, for in around 500 top companies in India. And what is this thing? These are all internship program. And that is the fifth package of the Prime Minister. And they will be giving allowance of 5,000 rupees per month, along with one-time assistance of 6,000 rupees, etc. They'll be giving some internship money. So when you say a permanent employee to temporary employee to an intern, which means that the salary will be reduced further. So permanent employee will be getting some good money. Temporary employee may not be getting that much money. When you're saying that we are recruiting interns, it automatically means that you will be working very hard, but we will not be providing you that much. That is the concept of internship. The return is that the person will be learning new skills from the company. So the internship, this is the internship package of the PM. This is the fifth package of the under the PM's package. And there are certain other sectors also. For example, 12 industrial parks will be developed. So industrial park creation, again, MSME and manufacturing services sector. Then rental housing with dormitory type accommodation for industrial workers. In India, is there sufficient houses in India for everyone to live with? Is everyone in India living in their own houses? No, right? But is there sufficient amount of number of houses in India? That is also less. But we can give you an interesting fact that there are certain regions, there are certain states in India where when we go to those cities, rural areas, etc., a lot of houses simply constructed, and they will go to some European, American countries and all. They will never even rent out that house. Simply lock the house, they just go. So what if we can take that houses? What if that houses can be productively used? How? By renting out to different people who are in need of that. That is also one of the things. There is actually one Yojana, that is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Yes, that is right. But what if we can take out those empty houses? We can rent it out to them. That is one of the important aspects we have to look into. When if you are actually asked in the accommodation sector, the housing sector, any question is asked in the mains, you can say like that also. That is, there are a lot of empty houses. Take it, rent it. The facility should be there. So government is actually promoting rental housing sector also. Instead of constructing large buildings, the better way is actually find the empty houses, give it out for rent. Then next thing is critical minerals mission. So what are critical minerals? There are certain minerals like lithium. So certain minerals which are actually extremely required for our energy security and thereby our national security also, like lithium, etc. And the next, last but not least, strengthening of the tribunal and appellate tribunals to speed up insolvency resolution and additional tribunals to be established. That is the pendency of cases. What is the pendency of cases in India right now? Around, in all the Supreme Court, High Court, etc., 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 combined together, how many cases are actually pending in India? Around, estimately, is it amount to 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 50 lakh, 1 crore, 2 crore? Is it amount to crores or just lakhs or 10,000? Lakhs, right? So we can say that it is actually in the lakhs only, somewhere close to 300 lakhs, which means that somewhere close to 3.5 crore cases are actually pending in India. Just imagine the number. So that much cases are actually pending in India. Of course, there are judges, the judiciary system is working hard also, but still that pendency is still there. So along with that, the new cases are actually coming. What kind of cases? Insolvency cases, etc. So the government is actually planning to strengthen that particular aspect. That is to deal with those kind of insolvency cases. When the company wants to wind up, that also has to be, that also should be very easily. To opening a company is now easy, but to close a company is very difficult right now. So to close a company, to insolvency procedures, all things should also be very fast. For that, tribunals and appellate tribunals will be established. That is what the government is actually focusing on. Right. That is actually one of the concepts of economic survey. That is, when India, after independence, in the next few decades, we were having license Raj. What is license Raj? Everything need a license. Lot of paperwork was needed. To open a company, it's a headache. Lot of paperwork was needed. So entry was difficult. Now what is the problem? Entry is somewhat okay. To open a company, it is somewhat easier. But to exit is difficult. Like if you are actually not having so much profit, to close a company, you may find a lot of hurdles. So both entry and exit should have been easier. That is the concept of the insolvency procedures, etc. For that, new tribunals and appellate tribunals will be set up. That is what they are saying. Next thing is, next priority sector number 6 is urban development. So the 4 different things they are saying. One is stamp duty. What they are actually focusing on, it's actually the woman actually encouraging different states to lower the stamp duty. Okay, for the properties purchased by women. If we buy a property, we have to give stamp duty to the state government. And they are actually saying is that the budget will be promoting the particular states, asking the states to encourage them so that whenever a woman buy the property, reduce the stamp duty, so that women will be the owners of different things. So that is one thing. That is all for urban development, so that the more women will come up in the urban development scenario. The second thing is street market. What is street market? Envisioning a scheme to develop 100 weekly hearts or street food hub. That is we all are actually interested in having food from different streets, right? We will definitely have some of our favorite locations. When we want to eat something, we go to that particular location, we'll go to some store, etc. So the government want to improve in the urban area certain sections, that is 100 weekly hearts. Heart means street food hub. Heart is the Hindi word. It simply means hubs. What kind of hubs? Street food hubs. So they want to promote the street food culture. That's what they're saying. And we also have to, along with that, you have to also remember there was a scheme, PM Swanidhi scheme. So please don't forget about the PM Swanidhi scheme. It was actually for the street vendors. So for those poor street vendors, this PM Swanidhi scheme actually give some micro loans, some loan amount, so that they can set up their own street food, their own street, some kind of selling, etc. So that kind of PM Swanidhi scheme should not be forgot when we talk about the street markets. Okay, this is not mentioned in the current budget, but in the previous budget, of course. And the next thing is transit-oriented development. So transit-oriented development plans for 14 large cities with a population of about 30 lakh. For every city, having more than 30 lakh people, they will have transit-oriented development. What is transit? What do you mean by transit? Between two things. That is commute, travel, we can say. So if I want to travel in one place from Mumbai or the southern Mumbai, maybe say an example of Panvel, that is one place in Mumbai. From Panvel, if I want to travel to the northern Mumbai side, it's a very huge problem because the traffic is very intense. Even the railway stations are too hectic and all crowded will be. So they want to improve the transit. They want to improve the travel between different places within a city. So transit-oriented development will be carried out. That is what they're saying. And the last thing is the water management. That is, in the cities, the water supply should be proper. The sewage treatment should be proper. The solid waste management things should be proper. And all those things should be established. They will be promoting that in 100 large cities. And in the very same thing, you have to remind of the smart cities program. So smart cities was not mentioned in the budget, but you have to look into what is the smart cities mission. There are 10 principles of smart cities mission. Smart cities mission was established implemented in 100 cities of India, selected cities only. And what they are actually saying, they have centralized data points and all. A centralized, their control room will be there. They will have extensive digitalized data of how the water supply is actually going. If there is any water breakage, the central room will actually immediately know that. So they want to develop the smart cities. So this particular thing is aligned with the smart city project actually. So developing 100 cities, pumping more money to 100 cities for water supply, sewage treatment, solid waste management, etc. So when we are studying the different things, always remember about the past and continuous ongoing projects of government also. Example, smart city mission. Example, the PM Swanidhi mission also. This is how we comprehensively write the answer. The UPSC will never ask you question based only on the this particular budget. They'll ask you comprehensive questions, right? So you cannot actually limit yourself to this year's budget. And the next few things in the sixth priority is about the housing. We already mentioned about the housing, and which is the major program under the housing sector. PM Awas Yojana urban, in the urban sector. There is another PM Awas Yojana Gramin for the rural sector. So this is actually urban sector, and what they are actually saying, the needs of 1 crore urban poor and middle class families. So they want to look at the around 1 crore families, including both poor and middle class, in the cities will be addressed with an investment of 10 lakh crore. So for the PM Awas Yojana urban, 10 lakh crore is actually provided for the needs of around 1 crore families, both poor and middle class. And last thing is transparent rental housing markets. We already mentioned about that. We need to address the issue of empty houses. That is one very important issue. In my own native state, when we go to central Kerala and all, we can see that a lot of different houses are there. When we go to different our friends' house and all, they say that okay, there are a lot of houses. We can simply stay there because it's their relatives' house. But they say that there are hundreds and thousands of houses simply lying there, very large bungalow-like buildings. But they are all settled in US and Europe and all. So those kind of rental marketing should be developed. So they'll also benefit. We'll also benefit. Then the next priority sector number 7. I guess it is actually 6, right? Okay. The next sector is actually energy security. Energy security is the next sector, that's priority sector. And we are actually focusing on 4 different things. One of the things is developing new thermal power plants between NTPC and Bell, etc. Forget about that. What is thermal power plants? Or what is the source of energy in thermal power plants? It is actually coal only. So definitely the government is stressing the point that even though we are promoting the climate financing, climate change, combating the climate change, etc., we cannot simply avoid coal because the 60% or more of the energy produced in India annually comes from coal actually. So that cannot be negated. That is what one point they are actually saying. The next thing is actually about the energy audit. That is the MSME sector, the small companies, they will be given funding support for their energy audit. They will be helped to promote more and more renewable energies actually added to the MSME sector. That is what they are saying. And the next 2 things, one thing is in the nuclear energy sector, they are saying that setting up of Bharat small reactors. Bharat small reactors. So what is actually Bharat small reactors? You can see in this particular image, what is a Bharat small reactor? That is a normal large conventional reactor will be having more than 700 megawatts of power. What is this thing? That is called the small modular reactor or small nuclear reactor. That is actually one reactor which is actually producing up to 300 megawatts of power. So this is what the government is actually promoting or focusing on in the nuclear energy sector. And then there is another thing that is micro reactor less than 10 megawatt. But this is what the government is promoting, focusing the 300 megawatt up to 300 megawatt of power, that is small nuclear reactor, that is called the Bharat small reactors. Bharat small reactors. And the last point is that the pump storage policy. What is the pump storage policy? I guess we already mentioned in one of our previous current affairs classes that that particular thing, pump storage, can be used to store electricity, store the energy. How they can actually store electricity? That is, if suppose this is a dam, this is the dam number 1, and then there is upper reservoir, the number 2 region. So they simply pump the energy, pump water and store it there. So what happens is that the water remain there. The energy is stored there. Water is energy. The water is stored there. So when we need energy only, we just release that. So what happens is that the water comes down, generating power. So energy is created again. So energy is stored, is retrieved. So this is actually storing of energy actually. Energy is neither created nor be destroyed. So energy is actually simply stored somewhere. If energy is stored here, what happens? Nothing is actually happening. The continuous generation of electricity is happening. But what if the particular thing, what if there is no rain? What if the main reservoir dries out? But we have stored energy somewhere else, like a battery. So that from that battery, from that stored reservoir, again energy is retrieved. So that is what is called the particular thing called pumped storage policy. That is a pump storage energy. Right. That is what is happening in the energy sector. Coming to the next priority sector, before that, we have to also mention about the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. What can be Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana? Installation of solar panels where rooftop. That is the point. The point is PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana is actually rooftop solar panels actually. So they want to actually promote around 1 crore households to obtain free electricity. How? Around up to 300 units of every month, and around 1.28 crores of registrations are already there. What is the entire project about? The entire project is about installing solar panels on the rooftop of our houses, of the buildings. So that is what the PM Surya Ghar Yojana is actually talking about. They're talking about Surya Ghar, right? So they're focusing mainly on residential houses. So we can apply for that. So they're saying that around 1.28 crore applications are there, registrations are there, and they are actually getting free electricity once the solar panels are installed, and they are giving subsidies also to install the solar panels. So energy sector again, we don't have to depend on thermal power, etc. If you want energy, you can create it, produce it yourself directly from the sun. So when we deal with energy sector in science and technology, we'll be studying about it further. What are the issues of it also? For a state like Meghalaya, just imagine if I'm living in Meghalaya, if I'm having solar rooftop, will I get 365 days of sun? There'll be intense rainfall. So there are issues with the renewable energy sector also, which is called intermittent energy. So it is not continuous supply of energy, there will be intermittent only. So some hybrid energies has to be installed. So these are the concerns in the energy sector. The seventh priority sector is infrastructure. So what are they saying? They are saying that 3.4% of the GDP is actually given to the infrastructure sector, which is actually a very good number, around 11 lakh crore rupees. 11 lakh crore rupees means around 3.4% of the GDP will be supplied to the infrastructure sector. And then to the state governments, around 1.4 lakh crore. These numbers, again, I'm telling you, are insignificant. But I'm reminding you that they will be giving support to states. That is enough. That is necessary for the mains exam. So that much very high number of 1.5 lakh crore rupees will be given to the states as a loan, interest-free loan. Why? For what? For creation of infrastructure. And the next thing is that phase 4 of PMGSY. What is PMGSY? PMGSY will be launched to provide all-weather connectivity to some rural households. Connectivity, PMGSY, what do you mean? Road. What is that PM scheme for road construction? For rural road construction, Gram road construction, Gram Sadak Yojana. You might have heard about something like that. PM Gram Sadak Yojana. So under the fourth phase of PM Gram Sadak Yojana. So what is actually PM Gram Sadak Yojana? It is actually basically building roads. And where is actually we are building roads? We are building roads on different grams, that is the different villages. And why and what kind of roads we are constructing? We are building roads of all weather connectivity. That is all time. If there is intense rain, if there is intense summer, that should always be there. The road should be very stable. All weather connectivity to 25,000 rural habitations. One of the reasons why this kind of new roads are coming is because of the population increase. So as the population increases, new people are settling in remote areas. So they need connectivity. So to increase connectivity, to reach that population also, they are constructing new roads. Right. So that is the fourth phase of PM Gram Sadak Yojana. And the next thing is about inside the very same infrastructure sector, they are actually talking about irrigation and flood management inside the very same infrastructure sector. So what they are saying again in the Bihar region, Kosi Mechi intrastate link. That is a river linking. That is an irrigation project in the Bihar region. So they will be funding for that, financial support for the Kosi Mechi intrastate link. So please understand that this is in the northern region, the Bihar region. The next thing is that the certain states such as Assam, Uttarakhand and Sikkim, which is the river which is affecting more high floods in Assam, which is the river responsible for flood in Assam. Brahmaputra, right? So that is what Brahmaputra in Assam. So is the floods of Brahmaputra harmful or positive or negative? Both positive and negative. That is the important point. Negative, we know all the destruction associated with the flood. Why positive? Exactly. Nutrition content. That is, yes. Exactly. That is the point. That is, whenever the flood comes in Brahmaputra, every year, what happens is that the soil gets nourished. So every year the soil gets new and new soil, new and new nutritions come. So flood is both plus and negative in the Brahmaputra region, in the Assam region. And the Sikkim, Uttarakhand also, a lot of such rivers are there. So flood management and other projects will be taken up. And then the Himachal Pradesh region, which actually faced a lot of heavy rainfall, a lot of cloudbursts in the last year, they will also get some assistance. So that is what the irrigation and flood management thing is actually taking on. In the 2023, last year, September, there was this landslide in Himachal Pradesh and all. So Himachal had faced some of the issues, so they will be given assistance. And the last sector within the infrastructure is tourism. And in tourism sector, again, this too is actually for Bihar. That is the Vishnupad temple corridor and Mahabodhi temple corridor. Both those things will be in Bihar only. So again, this is a prelims point. So where are these? Match the following questions can come. Pair-based question can come. So Mahabodhi as well as Vishnupad temple, both will be developed as a corridor. Both are in Bihar. The second thing is that Rajgir, the comprehensive development initiative for Rajgir will be undertaken. That is, it is having a religious significance, Rajgir. Or we can say the another word is Rajagriha. So two words are actually used, Rajgir or Rajagriha. Again, it is in Bihar, and they're saying it is having a religious significance, of course. So then we have to go to ancient history. So ancient history, when the Maurya Empire was actually there, the Maurya's capital was Pataliputra. So just before the Mauryas, the capital was during the Mahajanapadas and all, the capital was Rajgir. So we'll be studying in the ancient history and all about these things. So it was actually Rajagriha or Rajgir in Bihar. And then after that, when the Mauryas were actually coming, they actually shifted the capital to the particular thing called Pataliputra. That is the current Patna. Right. So that is the thing. The next thing is that again, Nalanda will be developed. So again, recently you saw the Nalanda University coming up. So they are giving a lot of emphasis to Nalanda University. And Nalanda University and the surrounding regions will also be developed. They're again saying in the tourism sector of infrastructure. And last thing is Odisha. You know what is actually happening. People, there is actually opinion that this entire sector is actually politics only. So they are focusing certain regions, that certain states maybe, which is actually having political affiliation to the current government. So Odisha, definitely it is a very beautiful state. All these Bihar, Odisha are equally important as the other states in India. So Odisha is actually having a lot of different natural landscape, wildlife sanctuaries, beaches, religious centers, etc. But they will be given special emphasis in the tourism sector. So that is what they are actually saying. So our point is that in the prelims point of view, certain words are coming. In the mains point of view, there is a potential for a question asked in the tourism sector. How tourism sector can be developed. So you can write your answer. In that answer, you can have a special mention, just one or two single lines. In the current budget also, there is a focus on the tourism sector. For example, emphasis to Vishnupad temple, emphasis to Mahabodhi temple corridor, etc., etc., like that. So one or two mentions of this thing is actually more than enough for your mains exam this year or the next year also. That is how we study for the thing. And the next particular thing is the 8th priority sector. It is innovation, research and development. So innovation, research and development. So for example, the STEM sector. What is actually STEM? Any idea what is STEM? No, in the education.
Science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
Yes. What is it?
That's science, technology, engineering, medical.
Yes, Devansh is right. Science, technology, engineering, and maths. That is actually what is called the STEM. So we have to give more emphasis to STEM education. Why? Because that is the future. I'm not saying literature is not the future. I'm not saying studying language or studying other subjects is not the future. But giving emphasis to STEM will give you more, wealth actually. More wealth creation will happen. More job creation will happen. More productivity sectors are actually happening. Along with that, we need to have definitely the art has to be there. We need to see films. We need to read the poems. We need to read the stories, etc. Along with that, STEM has to be given productive outcome also. So for that STEM research, we are not that much giving importance. That is around 3%, 3.4% of the GDP is actually extensively, directly given to the STEM sectors, which is actually really low. We have to improve that. So in that innovation, research and development area also, there are certain things which are actually being planned by the government. One of the thing is Anusandhan National Research Fund. So a new fund is actually created. That is operationalization of the Anusandhan National Research Fund. So what is the fund is used for? For basic research purposes. So science and technology development and prototype development. So in that, Uri film, you might have actually seen the Uri film. In that film, you might have seen that drone in the eagle shape, right? So that was a prototype. So in that film itself, they say that it's a prototype. Prototype means that it is not completely operational, still under development. So we need to, at least we need to have that much kind of laboratories and facilities so that those enthusiast people can come forward and do their work and develop their own prototypes. So they have their own basic research and all. So for that, the Anusandhan National Research Fund. And the next thing is private sector driven research and innovation at commercial scale with a financial pool of 1 lakh crore. Again, the number is insignificant. What is the significant thing? Private sector driven. So government alone cannot actually take care of all the people, all the research and all the economy in India. That is true. That is true with any country. So what we have to do, we have to take in support, in coordination with the private sector. So for the innovation, research and development, private sector support will be there. So that is another point. Next thing is space economy. A venture capital fund of some crore has to be set up. So in the space economy, recently we set up something like national NSIL, that is NSIL, then in space. So different agencies are actually coming up in the space sector. Why? Because the ISRO cannot take care of everything in the space sector. They have to focus on research, right? So what the satellite building, the rocket building, everything can be taken up by other private sector agencies also. So again, they are saying that a venture capital fund, that is the fund for the beginners. A fund will be set up so that new players can come to the space sector. They can actually take some of the activities of the ISRO, like rocket building, some satellite building, etc., so that ISRO can actually focus on the intense, deep core research, what they are actually supposed to do originally. So these are the things which they are actually coming under the innovation, research and development field. And the ninth sector is actually about the last sector, the next generation reforms. So what are the next generation reforms? They are saying a lot of different things. For example, Bhu Aadhar. Bhu Aadhar. So what is Aadhar used? Aadhar is used for an identification document. So just like that, Bhu Aadhar will be used. So what is actually Bhu Aadhar? To identify the land parcels. If I have a 5 cent of land here, if I have 3 cent of land there, each will have unique identification numbers so that the government can easily identify what type of land it is. Is it a farming land or is it an urban non-farming land? Where is the land located, in a village or urban area? How much area the land has? What type of soil the land has? So all the data can be, accrue to the particular number. So identification of the thing. Then survey of map divisions. So then intense land survey also. Then in linkages to the farmers registries, we already mentioned about the digital public infrastructure. A survey will be there. All the kinds of lands will be digitalized. So all the things will be there. So establishment of a land registry, a book in which digital book in which all the type of details of the land will be entered. Then digitalization of the cadastral maps. Simply understand that it is just maps only, but all the maps will be digitalized. And land records in the urban areas will be digitalized with the GIS mapping. GIS mapping. GIS means, what is GIS? Global Information System. So GIS mapping. So that's very precisely in the digital map, they can actually locate a particular location. If they want to build something for a defense sector, they can simply look at the map. All the data will be there. They can safely say that, okay, this is a safe location. In 50 kilometers from this onward, there is no threat like that. So this is a perfect location for a defense unit, something like that. So multiple types of uses can be there if the land is properly surveyed, if the map is properly digitalized, and the proper identification number is also given for the land. So that is what they are going. The rural and urban related development activities will be developed in the next generation reforms. And the last reform set is that the different things such as climate finance. So you can say that the budget actually focuses on climate finances. No need to write the entire statement. No need to remember the entire statement at all. Just know that the climate finances will be increased. So there will be more spending on climate adaptation techniques, and then simplification of FDIs. So we already mentioned about FDIs in one of the last classes, foreign direct investment. So FDIs investment will be, procedures will be further eased. The second thing. And third thing, NPS Vatsalya. So this is a scheme that we have to remember, NPS Vatsalya. So what is a Vatsalya scheme? The scheme actually says that for every minors means less than 18 years. So for every minors, the guardian or the parent, maybe the minor may not have a parent, so there may be a guardian only. So the guardian or the parent can actually invest in the name of a minor until the 18 years is actually reached, until the minor reach 18 years. So that much amount is actually given to the particular person, and they can continue that, continue to the normal NPS scheme also. NPS means National Pension Scheme. So they can continue after 18 years as a normal pension scheme. So this NPS Vatsalya by the parents and guardians for the minors until 18 years. After that, they can continue as normal NPS also. That is two prelims point. What is NPS Vatsalya? Second statement, they can continue to the normal prelims pension scheme or not, yes or no. So two statements are actually given in the data. And the thing is then improvement of the data governance, all the statistics processing. These are all the general points which the budget says. And last thing, the NPS, the new pension scheme, the solution that addresses relevant issues. Please don't worry about that. This is just a screenshot, so I didn't want to cut out that particular part. So this is the important part, NPS Vatsalya. That is the new term which actually came in the budget. That is actually important for us aspirants also. Right. So the next point is about the budget. We were already discussing about the different sectors, different priority sectors of the budget. Now we are actually understanding about the different sectors in which the expenditure is carried out. So which sector got the major share of the budget? That is actually the defense sector. So the defense sector got the major share, and the next came the rural development, and the next came the agriculture, and which is the last three sectors: energy, social welfare, commerce and industry. Energy, social welfare, commerce and industry. Just above energy, we have health also. So when we study the different allocations, there is absolutely no point in by-hearting all these things. But just keep in your mind that, okay, defense was somewhere in the top, rural development was somewhere in the top, agriculture also was somewhere in the top. That is actually required. Even if you forget which was first, who was first, that is almost fine. And which came the last four: health, energy, social welfare, commerce and industry. All those things were almost in the bottom last four. That much knowledge is actually required. Then you can most probably crack the prelims. If at all any question came in the prelims also. So that is the sector, and defense to give an outlay, the 4.5 lakh crore rupees. 4.5 lakh crore rupees was actually allocated for defense. So we are actually, and we have to give that much importance to defense. There is no question arising out of that. So that is the important allocations in the budget. And the next thing is that the particular budget also talks about simplification of the tax regime. That is, currently we are actually going through the Income Tax Act of 1961. So again, I'm saying Income Tax Act of 1961. So there are definitely continuous additions and all, but still, is a common man able to read that act? Everybody has to give income tax, that is good. But are we able to read that act? If you ask your parents and all, whenever we want to pay income tax, we directly go to the chartered accountant. And the chartered accountant will give you the necessary instructions and all. But why we are not able to give the necessary assessments and all? Because it is not very complex. So what the government is trying to do is that they want to simplify all the tax regime. They want to simplify the income tax act so that it is more readable. That is one important thing which they are actually saying. And the other different things for a simplification of the charities and TDS means tax deducted at source. We'll be reading about in the economics related that, and certain appeals will be there. We'll be giving cases against the government regarding the different tax things. So all those things will be very hassle-free, and deepening the tax base. So what is actually tax base? Tax base is something like that. Government wants to deepen the tax base or widen the tax base. What their meaning is that they want to find more number of values or products which they can actually tax. If the government finds that, okay, the mobile phones are not really taxed, so new thing, so we can tax them. So they want to expand the number of things, expand the value which they can actually tax, so that each tax will come down. For example, if only there are two products, though the tax will be 50%, tax will be 50%. But what if the government find 10 new products? So every kind of all the 12 products will be taxed simultaneously. So each tax will come down. So that is the point. Increasing the tax base means that the tax share of each individual will be reduced. So that is the point here. That is also a screenshot taken from the document. And the next thing is, again, whenever the budget is actually coming out, the first thing which normally a person asks is, what is the tax slab? So how much, if I get that much income, I don't have to pay tax. So what are the different tax slabs? So again, this is actually not that, the numbers are not that much important, but just remember this thing, that around 0 to 3%, 3 lakh rupees, if you are getting under 3 lakh rupees, you don't have to pay any income tax. Right? Below 3 lakh rupees, you don't have to pay any type of income tax. What if you are getting 4 lakh rupees? Between 3 to 7 lakh rupees. That is, if you are getting 3 to 7 lakh rupees, you have to pay 5% of the income. And if you are getting 7 to 10 lakh rupees, 10 lakhs of income. So it goes on like that. I'm just saying, what if you are getting somewhere like 8 lakh rupees? Just imagine, between 7 and 10, it is actually 10%, right? If you are getting 8 lakh rupees, which means that above 7, you are getting 1 lakh rupees, 8 lakh rupees, right? Total 8. So above 7, you are actually getting 1 lakh rupees. So 10% of that 1 lakh will be there. 10% of 1 lakh means 10,000 rupees. So if I am getting 8 lakh, so extra is 1 lakh rupees. How is actually extra 1 lakh found? 8 minus 7. So that means 1 lakh rupees. And what is the 10% of the 1 lakh rupee? It is 10,000 rupees. So I have to give 10,000 rupees as tax if I get 8 lakh rupees. No, it's not the total. It is actually only the extra sum actually. Right. So this is what the tax regime is actually all about. So as we progress, as the income actually increases, the tax rate also increases. So about more than 15 lakh, if I'm getting 16 lakh rupees, I have to pay 30% of my extra income, that tax. If I'm getting less than 3 lakh, I don't have to pay any tax. So this is another extremely important point for prelims exams. They may not ask you the different tax slabs in main maybe, but in prelims they can ask. So that is one point. The next important thing from the budget is certain things you have to understand. The most important thing is the angel tax. They abolished all the angel tax. So what is the angel tax? Any idea? That is another prelims as well as mains point. Angel tax means if I am a startup and if I'm actually started to get some investments, so my value is somewhere close to 1 lakh rupees. Just imagine my startup cost 1 lakh rupees only. But the person who started funding me said that, okay, they understood, okay, this startup has really good potential. So instead of 1 lakh, I'll give you 2 lakhs. So I got more than my valuation. So angel tax is supposed to tax on that extra income up above the original valuation. But what the startup is saying is that if you go on tax like angel tax like that, those investors will not come, the startup system will not develop. So ultimately the government actually reduced or abolished the entire angel tax. And then domestic cruise means the large tourist kind of ships, right? The large ships. So they want to promote the cruise business also. So that, and then these are all basic things which they may not be asked in the prelims. For example, boost the mining sector for raw diamonds, etc. So that foreign companies can come to India. They will have some tax deduction so that they can go for the diamond industry and all. So these are not that much important. And then corporate tax rate. The corporate tax rate on foreign companies is reduced from 40% to 35%. That is, if at all there is a foreign company, not Infosys. Infosys is a homegrown company. What if Google comes? If Google comes, then they have to pay corporate tax. And that corporate tax is reduced from 40% to 35%. That is the point. And there are certain things like long-term financial gain tax and all. That is all extreme core economic concepts which will be dealt in the economic class only. That is better because you have to study that very slowly. What is the long-term financial gain, short-term financial gain, etc., like that. So please don't worry about this thing. Please don't worry about the numbers at all. You will be dealt with this particular concept also. So these are all direct tax proposals. Please don't worry. What is a GST? GST is an indirect tax. So these are all in angel tax, etc., all in direct taxes. And the last two slides in the budget section is that how does the income comes? From where does the rupee comes from? What is the major share of the income? That is actually the borrowing and other liabilities. 27% is actually coming from the borrowing, right? And the next largest income is actually this. That is the income tax. So income tax actually takes up around 19%. Forget about the number, but just know that from where the rupee is actually coming from. Initially the liabilities, the borrowings, then comes the income tax, and then comes the GST. So what can be the prelims question here? The last year's GST collection was more than that of the income tax. Wrong. Income tax was more than that of the GST. That is how the prelims question can be structured. So you don't have to remember the entire pie chart, nothing like that. Just remember what kind of questions you can generate from these kind of charts. That is how you actually study for prelims. Right. So that is actually, this is the important 2 points. And then the corporation tax is 17%. The three major taxes, income tax, GST, corporation tax, in the decreasing order. Income tax, GST, and corporation tax. That is the decreasing order of taxes. And what is the expenditure? How does the rupees goes to? And when we look into how the rupees is going to, the first share is how the 21% of the expenditure is actually the central government giving money to the states. That is, the states also have a share of taxes, right? States collect the taxes, give it to the center, they combine, collective it, then they distribute it to different states. So the maximum expenditure for the state share of taxes, that amounts to 21%. That is the highest share of expenditure, we can say. And the next share is actually 19%, the interest payment. For example, if we don't have proper money right this year, we borrow. When we borrow money, we have to pay interest. So the government, any government has to pay interest, and that comes the second highest thing. That is the 19% of the expenditure is actually going for the interest payments every year. And the third and last thing which we mentioned here is the central sector themes. So we already mentioned, you must be knowing about the central sponsored themes and central sector themes. Centrally sponsored theme means whenever you hear the word sponsored, it is center plus states. Whenever you hear the word central sector, it is only the center which is actually implementing. So for that central sector themes, schemes and all, that 16% of the fund is actually going. So which are the highest three here? One is the state share, 21%. Second goes the interest payment, 19%, and 16% for the central sector themes. This is what the budget is actually all about.